Hello everybody, in this video we are going to be going over page tooltips. In Power BI you're able to turn on a whole page to make any visual pop out a tooltip of that page. So in this video we're going to go through how to set that up, what some best practices are for that, and what are some use cases of when you can use it and when it might be useful to throw on your reports. So before we get into it, let's go and look at our model real quick. So imagine we're at a recruiting firm. We've got some placements. Those placements bring in revenue or sales, and a part of those placements are job orders. So job orders and candidates make up those placements, and each of those items, job orders and candidates, have recruitment activity that leads to a placement. Right, so that's kind of our model that we're working with here. We've got two fact tables down here, and then two lookup tables up here. The employee table we won't use in this example, so just ignore that. And then the date table right up here is also related to our recruitment activity and our revenue. Right, so that's our model, very basic model, nothing too crazy. So let's get into how to do a tooltip. So what the tooltip page is going to do, it's going to look very similar to a standard tooltip. However, you have the ability to make it literally be the entire page. So if you want to create an entire report and just have it be in the tooltip, you can do that. So let's go through exactly what I mean. So let me throw on a couple of things here on the page. Let me throw that and revenue. Let's pivot it, go there, and throw placement ID underneath as well. Okay. So on our little table here, all we've got is, from our lookup tables, we've got our vacancy ID, our candidate ID, and a placement ID. And then our sum of revenues just from the revenue table, right? And so you can see kind of how our stuff is related. We've got a little model that's relating all of our stuff nice and neat, right? So we've got some revenue that a vacancy is bringing in, that some placements are going to, and there's a candidate that's on those placements, right? So you can kind of see what's happening with the model. We've got some dollars coming in with some vacancies and some placements. So what we're going to be doing is when we hover over this value, you can see that nothing's popping up, right? There's nothing that shows over this value. But if we go to the visual pane, visualizations pane, and go to that format your visuals option, and go to general, and let's just go ahead and turn tooltips on. So what we've done is just we've turned on the tooltip for this page, or for this visual, right? So just for this visual, you can now see that it will pop open what is going to be showing as the current tooltip setting. So if you pop that open on the tooltip visualization pane, you can see what it's going to be showing you the tooltip as, right? So it's going to show you just the auto page. It's just going to auto to what it's currently set to. But what you have the ability to do is you have the ability to set it to a specific page. So you can set it to an entire page of your report that you've created that will pop out on this little black tooltip pop out instead of what is currently there. So instead of it just showing the ID and the name of what you're hovering over, so instead of just showing vacancy 256 and then the individual candidate and then the dollar value, and then if you go up one more, it would just include the placement as well. So instead of just showing those values, what you can instead do is have it pop out an entire different table. And so what we're going to have it pop out is, let's say for some reason we just want to put on the vacancy activity on this tooltip, right? So we're sending out some daily report for managers to review performance activity over the past couple of days, and we want to see the dollars that they've brought in and then the activities that kind of made up those dollars, right? So what were recruiters sending out? What were people doing? What employees were sending out the activity to try to get the people hired? What was happening, right? So let's just say that's our scenario. If we go and create that second page here, let's create a new blank page, and we will throw on that activity. And let's put on the date as well. All right. So now on this page, all we need to do is just this. We don't need to put any context onto this table other than our fact table stuff. So what's going to filter this table is going to actually be from our first page. So remember this tooltip that we're looking at, right? So that tooltip ID, name ID section, that little section right up at the top, what that's saying is that this context for this value right here for the sum of revenue at this line item has the context of vacancy ID 258, candidate name Denise, placement number 766, so on. right? So whenever we have that tooltip, when we turn on the tooltip page and we hover over this, our tooltip page that we've set for our report page will be filtered by that exact same value. So our placement and candidate and vacancy filtering will come from our tooltip visual. So we don't need to put any filtering on the tooltip page visual. Right, so that can just stay as is. So let's go ahead and put this here, and then let's maybe throw on something else underneath. Just throw another visual on here to show kind of what the tooltip can fully demonstrate. Let's go with a bar chart, and let's go. Perfect. That's a lot of activity over there. What happened over there? All right, not important. All right, so let's say this is what we want to show on a tooltip, right? We just want to show some activity over the time. Let's remove this from there. Beautiful. All right, so now if we turn on, so let's now make this page. So we've now created our page tooltip. So we've created the visuals that we want to pop out on the page that is our main reporting page. We now want to make this the tooltip page. So instead of popping out, like I said, instead of popping out those values right there, that ID, name, ID, I want to pop out this. I want this to show. So the way that we do that is, again, on the visualization pane, go over to that Format Your Report page, and on the Page Information dropdown, we're going to go ahead and set Allow Use as Tooltip. Turn that on. So when you hover over that, just allow the page, right? So if you turn this page on to be allowed as a tooltip, let's go back to page 1 here. And then on our visual that we've set the original tooltip for, let's click on that visual again, go back to the Format Your Visual, go over to the General section, go back down to Tooltips, and then under the page now, what we're going to select is that new page that we just made a tooltip page. So now that we made it a tooltip page, we can now select it, right? Before, when we clicked on this dropdown, we didn't have any other page to select from other than auto. But now that we've made a tooltip page, we now have another option to select from. So let's go ahead and click on that button, and then watch what happens. So when we hover over this guy, now we've got, again, vacancy 258, candidate Denise, and placement 766, filtering that tooltip page that we created, even though on the tooltip page, there's no filtering on this page. Right, so this page comes unfiltered. I've done nothing on this page other than just drag and drop some values on there. But then when we hover over, it's filtered right to Denise. So we know what activity made up this placement. We can even track it on the little bar chart at the bottom, the date added of those activities. How frequently was the activity happening to make that placement, right? So with these tooltips, you can quickly kind of show some high value like visuals without cluttering up the page. So now that I have this kind of simple little table page, I can minimize this and make this a really small part of the report, and I have all of this other white space that I can fill up with valuable insights to some C-suite that looks at the report. They can, boom, go instant with those insights. But then if you've got some lower level individual looking at the report that's trying to get some strategical value out of it and make some decisions, they also have that very powerful drill downs where you can find the actual kind of day-to-day activity while keeping it still very high level without cluttering up that main report page. Right, so those tooltips definitely have some really big value, but at the same time, I do want to caution you, the report tooltips can definitely get in the way, right? Because it's whenever you hover, I can't make this go away, right? That tooltip cannot go away. It's going to be there. Whenever you're hovering over a value on that visual with the matrix or with the tooltip set to be turned on, it can't go away. It's going to show whenever you're hovering over a value. So it can get very annoying for a report viewer. So you definitely want to be making sure that you don't overuse this feature with your report viewers, because again, it can get in the way, it can be obnoxious. But it does certainly have its value if you can find a place for it. It's just another tool to add to that toolkit in your Power BI world, right? It can definitely be valuable in some situations, but just be aware of those downfalls. And that is it for this video. Hopefully those Power BI page tooltips, you can find some use for these guys. And good luck applying them to your reports, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.